That's all the lesson for today's classes. Now I will take your attendance. Please open your camera if I call your name. Muhammad Adi. Ada. Muhammad Zuhdi.
Ada.
Syukri Yahya.
Ada doktor.
Syukri.
Letak kan. Mic pun tak boleh kan.
So Syukri is absent again.
Game over.
Hi guys, have you ever faced a similar situation before? I bet you have. Frustrating, isn't it? Now let's see the next situation. I bet you can relate. Play.
Is P. 2 out of 3 is about 67% if you round it. So it's
If you're a student or a worker, stay tuned because we will dive deeper into the system requirements, bandwidth requirements, and some summary of the best virtual meeting platform that is suitable for your niche. Enter Google Meet. Generally, to utilize Google Meet as a virtual meeting platform, you just need dual-core processor and a minimum of 2 GB RAM for your computer. You can open a Google Meet alongside 10 other tabs for research purposes, and you can share or present your screen. In general, using a Google Meet for 1 hour equals to 1.4 GB of internet usage, depending on what you are viewing. And if you are sitting in a class more than 10 people, as much of 4.0 megabits per second of bandwidth is being utilized. And Google Meet is web-based, meaning to say you may not need to install a specific application to run Google Meet on your laptop or PC. Therefore, it will save storage space for computers, especially for students who need more storage to store their work. Next, we have the WebEx meeting app. As for the processor, it will be sufficient if you have an Intel dual-core processor. You might ask, what are the limitations of WebEx meeting? For sharing options, you may not be able to share MP4 files or any multimedia files. The bandwidth requirements for sending and receiving video. For high-definition video, you might need to have 2.5 to 3 megabits per second of data. And for standard quality video, only 0.5 megabits per second of data is required for send and receive. Now the actual bandwidth requirements may differ and is induced by many factors. For example, the make and the model of the web camera used, the frames per second setting, and how many cameras are activated in the meeting, how many active users are utilizing the same network, the bandwidth utilization of other meeting activities, and whether or not the PC is transmitting video or only receiving videos. Next, we have the Zoom meeting platform. The Zoom meeting platform can be run on many devices. As for the processor and RAM requirement, it is sufficient if you can obtain a double-core processor to run Zoom. For the bandwidth requirements, the Zoom automatically adjusts to its participants' need. In other words, it will automatically adjust to maybe 3G or 4G or 5G or Wi-Fi according to what the participant needs. And for one-to-one video call, as much as 600 kilobits per second to 3.0 megabits per second is being used. For group video calling, as much as 1.0 megabits per second to 3.8 megabits per second is being used to transmit video of high quality as well. Screen sharing, Zoom requires 50 to 57 kilobits per second. And for screen sharing that requires video, Zoom requires 50 to 150 kilobits per second. Next, we have Microsoft Teams. The hardware specification is similar to that of Google Meet and Zoom. It requires an Intel dual-core processor at a bare minimum for both Windows and Mac OS. Similar to Zoom, this feature quickly adjusts the quality of the video depending on the bandwidth. Therefore, if you can notice in Microsoft Teams and Zoom, whenever the bandwidth is low, it will change the quality automatically. But in general, Teams meeting recording requires 574 kilobits per second of data with a quality video of 1080p. If we are doing a video on demand, our required bandwidth is 3 megabits per second for 1080p, 1.6 megabits per second for 720p, and lastly 193 kilobits per second for 180p. You might see a pattern here where you can observe that most of the virtual meeting platform utilizes at least dual-core processor. So this is similar to the sister of Microsoft Teams, which is Skype, and maybe a little bit different on the bandwidth experience. For calling without the video, 100 kilobits per second. For video calling or screen sharing, the recommended is 300 kilobits per second. For video calling in HD, 500 kilobits per second. For group video of 5 people, 4 megabits per second. And group video for 7 plus people is 8 megabits per second.
To summarize, if you are looking forward to a stable meet that lasts than 2 hours and require heavy use of screen sharing, choose Zoom or Teams for better reliability. If you are looking for a light meetup, perhaps a small group discussion for a project, group for Google Meet or Skype for its simplicity. If you are an event organizer that houses more than 100 people in a single meeting room for your webinar, opt for WebEx or Zoom for its reliability in handling large number of users. Hope you may garner benefit from this short video. Give a thumbs up and happy virtual meeting.
After finding the right virtual meeting platform, Zuhdi Zahir's path to success has been enlightened.
Kelas pertama, kejuruteraan sistem komputer dan komunikasi dengan GPA 3.99. Dipersilakan Muhammad Zuhdi bin Zahir.
별처럼 쏟아